lips. Sister used to call her ex-husband butt lip. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start using that.
You butt lipper?
It's better than butthead.
He hated butt lips. Oh, we're on?
Yeah, we're on. I figured I'd turn it on while we were talking about butt lips.
You gotta bless, man. My sister. You gotta respect her because she was a tough little shit. The way I grew up, I was responsible for her and my brother at a young age, and she was a fucking handful. I mean, if anybody ever tells you nature versus fucking nurture, it's nurture or lack of. You know? So, good person, good-hearted person, but we were all fucked up from the lack of attention. So anyway, I was responsible for them at a young age, and I became way overprotective over my little sister. I had such a fucked up, skewed version of shit. Like, even to have a boyfriend, I was fucking like, you're not gonna hurt my sister, you know? Mm-hmm. And I fucking smacked, I don't know how many people. One time, never mind. But anyway, long story short, after a history of me smacking people or getting in people's faces over it, I was at a party, and these bikers were there, shit talking, you know? And they were fucking with one of her friends, teasing her about her, whatever, I'm not gonna say what, because I don't want the person to possibly hear this and, you know, remember the bullshit. But anyway, they were bullying her. So, I'm watching this from afar. You know, it's a party with like 100 people and change outdoors, you know? And my sister starts fucking storming. Now, my sister's beautiful. When she was a kid, she looked like Phoebe Cates, you know? 17, 16. She's pacing, you know? And all of a sudden, she finds a baseball bat over stacked up by a picnic table because one of the things at this barbecue or party was softball earlier in the day. And she goes up and puts that baseball bat upside one of the bikers' heads and says, "Take it fucking back."
Oh, fucking A.
And that motherfucker looked across the party at me and said, "I'm sorry." You know what I mean? To the girl. But I was like, you know, you little shit. That was adorable, you know?
Reminds me of a shirt I actually saw on Facebook today. Somebody posted it. It was a shirt that said, "We're Italian. We don't call the cops. We call the family."
Yeah, right? Not like that anymore, man. Nobody gives a rat's ass about their heritage today.
No, it's sad to see.
Yep. But I'll tell you what, and I think about this a lot, and at the end of the day, it all comes back to me, to this industry, to pro wrestling. Nobody gives a fuck about their heritage, the lineage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a shame.
Everybody's doing the same moves. Everybody's doing the same high spots. Nobody's learning anything from anybody because there's nobody alive anymore that trains anybody, with the exception like Tom Pritchard, that can teach them anything that's been anywhere, that actually know the motherfucking craft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all glorified marks for themselves. The marks don't buy tickets anymore. The marks are the ones promoting the shows, you know, and wrestling, you know.
Yeah, it's always a pet project. Always a pet project.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, that's the difference between them and us, you know. I know how to look at, and I was just telling the kid that tried out yesterday, Justin, Harley fucking race. So, you read, if you want to read, if you give a shit about the lineage of the wrestling, of the industry, if you want to read a fucking book, read Ole Anderson's book, Inside Out. And I've suggested it to these assholes for a long time. Ole is an angry guy, but that doesn't mean that he's not right. You know, the guy was a great worker. He knew how to draw money. He knew how to book, you know, to draw money. But Ole talks about everybody, you know. At the end of the day, I think Ole thinks everybody's the shits, but him, Danny Hodge, and Lars Anderson, you know, which is funny because a lot of your old timers are that way, but you just, you know, you put up with it, you listen to them, it's out of respect, you know. But Ole says that, you know, he talks about Harley's shortcomings, but he doesn't fuck with Harley's talent, you know. Harley Race was a better wrestler than Ric Flair. And the reason I say that is because Rick would tend to lean on the same moves, the same holds, the same match with a different person out there. Harley Race didn't do that. You know, Harley could do, like, for example, these idiots take these hip tosses and they just kind of run through it so it's not a move. The people don't give a shit because it doesn't look like a move. You know what I mean? They don't sell it and they pop up right after to go to the next part of the spot. Well, when Harley Race takes a hip toss from a big guy, let's say a Kerry Von Erich or a Ron Simmons, you should see that motherfucker. You know, I showed these guys some shit from 70, whatever the fuck. Harley was 40 years old and fat, flying. Where that hip toss could have been a fucking finish by today's standards. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I know how to take that and put it into today's, today's culture, to take those kind of things and make it fucking 2020 worthy. You know what I mean? So that's why I think that this show idea, once I get my shit together and get that pitch together, History of the Ring is really going to get over and be a fucking winner and put us on the map as well.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be, if somebody picks that up, it's going to be, I don't know if revolutionary, it's probably too strong of a word, but it's going to be eye-opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, like, you can't compete with Vince. AEW shows us that every week, and the way AEW does stuff, the way WWE does stuff, you're going to piss off fans and potential fans. This won't, Every network wants to get into the wrestling industry. They know it's good business, but how do you do that and not compete with Vince? Nobody wants to compete with Vince because you can't compete with Vince. The only way you could compete with Vince is if you had about $15 million to start with that you didn't have to pay back for 10 years. You know what I mean? Because of the way they've done business and the way they've branded. This is perfect because it's a way into pro wrestling for Discovery Networks or whoever wants to pick it up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We're not going to go out there and say bash WWE while hiring all WWE's cast-offs. We're telling a great story that appeals to every fan and showcasing our branded talent.
Yep.
And that would be great for me, for the guys, for you, because it would provide opportunity that you guys wouldn't have to depend on trying to get hired by Vince, which is a 1 in 1,000 shot, 1 in 10,000 shot. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I think that Vince would even respect it,
Yeah.
Now, I'm a little afraid of saying it in a public forum because I see things and I've had things legitimately stolen from me. Anybody that's ever been on Access TV or HDNet or Mark Cuban's fucking pet project that he lost faith in, the only reason they were ever on that fucking channel was because of me, directly. I've had Ring of Honor to steal stuff. I've had Gabe Sapolsky steal stuff. But me going out on record like this, and even if Vince were to do it on his own network, I don't think he really gives a fuck. I don't think he sees the money in it enough to hire people to do the pet project like we would,
Right.
But also, copyright, trademark, etc. Here we are, December 9th, 2020. This shit's on the record books as mine because it's on recording and it'll be on our Patreon,
Yeah. Did you say December?
Did I say that? September?
I think so, September. I got confused there for a second. It's like, no, it's getting cold, but I'm not ready for that kind of cold yet.
Yeah, that must be the subliminal. It goes from fucking, 90 degrees last week to 60. Not even 64. It was supposed to be 64 today. It's in the fucking 50s.
I fought like hell to not pull a sweatshirt out of the closet, and I just couldn't. I had to submit.
Or to turn the heat on. What about that one?
Yeah.
We're going to need air.
See, that's the ultimate submission for me. That's my ultimate acknowledgement that it's cold out is when I have to turn on the heat. It hurts me. It hurts every year when I have to do that for the first time.
Right? So, let's get to the meat of the potato. That's what, what's that motherfucker's name? Hang on a second. It's from Storage Wars. Daryl. Luke always says, mate, fuck off. Like, when Luke talks to you and he tells you a story, you got to deal with all this fucking potatoes and the side dishes, right? Like fucking Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? And then he finally gets to it. Like, oh, fuck, Luke, please, just spit it out, Luke, but here's the patience. You fucking start talking. He goes, mate, get to the fucking meat of it. You know what I mean? It's like, you motherfucker. And incidentally, I was talking to Luke Monday. I forgot because we had the holiday. I was watching with Gianna. Fucking Gianna loves Ozzy Osbourne. She's like, I would marry him, even though he's old and all that shit. I just love the guy, you know. And Ozzy tries to fuck with Siri. You know. Well, here's what I fucking come to realize. You know, they gotta do subtitles for Ozzy because you can't understand him. You know. I was thinking, man, he's the Luke's the Ozzy Osbourne of pro wrestling. So I hit him up and say, hey, Luke, how do you and Siri get along? Fuck all, mate. Everything's fine. Siri works great for me. You know what I mean? But I know it doesn't. Yeah. You know what I mean? If the Siri, you know what I mean? I could see Luke. But I swear to God, Ozzy and Luke have a lot of the same mannerisms. Just one's from England and one's from fucking New Zealand.
You remember that? You know? Remember Ozzy was actually in a cell phone commercial a bunch of years ago.
Was he?
He was like out in public, like trying to order coffee, trying to talk to his shrink. Nobody could. It was, what? And he would text it to him. Oh, okay, got it.
Luke, it was funny because he still sells for me when it comes to that. You know what I mean? It's funny as hell. He honestly doesn't think there's anything wrong with the way he speaks. You motherfuckers don't understand the Queen's English? What the fuck? You know?
And you guys on Patreon, you remember that story about John Moxley in Puerto Rico?
That's a shoot, man. That's 100% shoot. I'm surprised Moxley never goes off about that exact issue, you know? It's fucking funny, man.
Oh, man.
But anyway, the meat of the potato, or the meat of the story, the meat of the Patreon, the meat of the podcast is Premier Pro Wrestling. And this Friday, we're taping this Friday and Saturday nights. Saturday night. Friday, no, actually nights would have been the popular vernacular, right?
Yeah, Friday nights. Friday and Saturday nights.
Did I use vernacular right? No.
Vernacular? That's a doiby.
But anyway, Friday night is all going to be centered around the Olympiad Freestyle, which is a great concept match. I'm sure you guys on Patreon have watched it because I don't think we put it out anywhere else.
No, it's a Patreon exclusive.
I think, though, we should take one or two after Friday's taping and put some on YouTube to pimp to come to Patreon.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that because we're going to have who knows how many Olympiad freestyle matches. I mean, would it really hurt us to put up at least one?
Yeah, no, one or two, because I've seen some positive feedback, and I know, and you know from calling the shit, it's fucking good. It's hard to keep up with. That's what I like about it. You can't see the outcome coming.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and in a way, it's stressful trying to keep up with our count, trying to stay in tune with the ref and all that. But the finished product is worth the effort.
Up, down, the fucking roller coaster ride's unbelievable.
You guys out there, I mean, listen to the commentary. So what is that? Is it 4-3? No, it's 5-3. Oh, I thought it was it's 5-3. No, and then the ref goes 3-3, and we're like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice because I'd say that one we're at about 3 times you're right, and 3 out of 4 times you're right, 1 out of 4 I'm right.
Yeah.
But at least I get to be right sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's great. It's a great concept to keep up with action. You know. And what I love most about it is all these fucking young guys that participate in this shit are jacked to participate in it.
Yeah.
You know? And
they've stepped up.
Yeah, they love doing something new and different and getting it over. Right. And it's like unheard of. You know, yes, there's catch wrestling. Everything spawned from catch wrestling or catch as can wrestling. But not like this, you know? The guys, there's certain catch wrestlers, some that you've never heard of, some I've forgotten about, that went to Japan and made so much money and drew amazing shit they would do. But not like today's. You know, that's something that people have gotten away from, too. You got these British guys, and because they have an accent and work the fingers, they're catches can style, which is not the case. You know what I mean? So it forces these guys to really be fucking innovative on the fucking fly, you know? And I love it. So this week what we're going to do, and someday we're going to get to this point where whatever the fuck, I'll explain that after. It's all going to be for a medal, and this medal is going to be called what, Justin?
The Olympiad Freestyle Gold Medal.
Yep, which is
taking it back to basics. We're thinking, Olympic style wrestling that catches catch can. Why not call it a gold medal?
Yeah, and reward the guy that's the fucking best at it, and add more to it, make it mean something for you guys, the fans. Yep. You know what I mean? and it's something different, you know. But man, I mean, just imagine where we're going to be when everything's branded and we get to a certain point where that night you have a tag match for the titles.
Yep.
That night you have a heavyweight championship match, which is 2 out of 3 fucking falls. That night you have an Olympiad freestyle match. That night you have the fucking Challenge Pro Cup match, you know, on a
Triple
real,
threat.
actual night of champions. Also, the Iron Man match.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that card alone, when it happens, which should be happening pretty soon, is a real, true night of champions with original concepts that people have never seen before.
Yeah.
You know? So there's something for everyone. We're going to appeal to all walks of fan. You know, the Lucha fan, the X Division fan, the Cruiserweight fan, the Catches Can fan, and the goddamn Powers fan. It's amazing, you know,
Yeah.
and we're the only company that I'm aware of that can do all that,
Yeah.
you know?
And taking the traditional things like your world championship, like your tag team championships, like your triple, like, has there ever been a triple threat championship before? I don't think there has.
No. When I was at TNA, first it started with Ring of Honor, and this is the truth. You can fucking fact check me, anybody who wants to. I had a relationship, I was working on a relationship with Ring of Honor. I was working on relationships with several companies, as I told you guys before. AAA in Mexico, IWA in Puerto Rico, where I really paid my dues and loved, and Ring of Honor. And the deal that I had with Ring of Honor when they were really selling DVDs was to partner up with them on something that was going to be all triple threats and do one show a month for triple threat champion, you know, and they were into it. Then I tried to shit with TNA Wrestling, and I don't even know if I told you this, where I pitched it and it was fucking going up the chain. Dutch and Jeff loved it, but it got shot down at the non-wrestling people like Andy Barton. Who does this guy think he is coming up with this shit? Dixie Carter and Serge Salinas we're supposed to be total non-stop action, and this whole fucking thing was originally incepted to be built around AJ and AJ style, okay? AJ Styles' style. Make the X Division triple threat matches and the agents Christopher Daniels and Jerry Lynn while they could still do stuff. So they would be player coaches. I thought that was hot, and so did everybody else. You know?
Well, those X Division matches back in the mid-2000s were way over. I mean, you're talking
Yeah.
Styles, Daniels, Samoa Joe. You're talking Ultimate X, Styles, Williams, and Sabin.
That would have been a phenomenal idea that would have branded them more so than when, for example, when they spent who knows how many millions they flushed down the toilet during the Hogan TNA era, you know. They weren't paying those guys what they were worth then, but they were getting higher ratings. You know, when AJ would wrestle for whatever he was making, which fucking, his best was like $85,000 a year for TNA.
Pennies for a guy with his caliber.
Yeah, but when you figure that out, and you figure they were spending $80,000 for a segment, you know, with Hogan and Sting and all the other high-paid motherfuckers, and it was tripling the rating for the segments because they used to break the ratings down by segment. What the fuck? You know what I mean? So yeah, no, there hasn't been. This is the first time, and we're doing it. You know, and we're doing it pretty fucking well.
Yep. Yeah, and you have to look at. I mean, even the tag belts. I mean, those are something special. I mean, you have two guys who kind of got thrown together in Sem and Chase, making huge waves and being a really formidable team, and then you put guys like Charlie Hustle and Slick Willie together.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know what the club of my head is.
Brand's got to go out to his car for something. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. Sorry, you guys. You're going to be stuck with me for a little bit. The comic relief has exited the building for a moment. What I was saying was, you know, even the tag division, you have guys like Charlie Hustle and Slick Willie who get put together. They got put together a couple of times and just instantly meshed. It's amazing how well a lot of these guys who have never teamed before just instantly mesh in that ring.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I love that too because I forgot that was basically a luck of the draw that happened.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not luck of the draw, but luck of the draw. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For a couple of weeks, I enjoyed calling them the Slick Hustle.
Well, you're gay. So, no offense to any gay subscribers. I don't mean it like that. I mean it like when I was in 7th grade and nobody got pissed off about it.
Yeah.
using that term never had anything to do with sexual orientation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or gender.
You know, sidebar, I was actually thinking about that today, and I remembered that there was a segment that they did on Raw like 25 years ago. I think it was the King's Court with Goldust. Were on national television for the biggest wrestling company in the world at that time. Jerry Lawler openly called Goldust a faggot.
Well, okay, go online and fucking go on YouTube and see Jerry the King Lawler
Jerry
calls Jimmy
Jimmy,
Valiant a faggot.
Yeah.
You know, that's where he got it from. You know.
Yeah. Well, even in 2006, I remember when Shawn and Hunter were parodying Vince and Shane, and Hunter looks at Shawn and goes, "Son, are you mildly retarded?" On national television.
Sure.
It's amazing how quick things change, you know?
Here's a fun fact that nobody knows. You know, there was a time when Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were so fucking over, dude. I mean, amazingly over. I don't know, 20 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago.
Yeah, would have been 20 years ago.
Vince was terrorizing Jerry Lawler to book for him to be the head of creative, you know? And Jerry's like, you know, I have no interest in it because, you know, I can finally walk into a locker room and not everybody wants to kill me. If I get that position, everybody's going to want to kill me again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you already spent, 20-odd years doing that.
But he was so over. He was working 5 nights a month and making $340,000, and Vince really wanted him to be on creative, you know? And, my hat's off to Lawler for not... He used to be a slave to his ego, but he wasn't. He didn't want that life anymore, There's too much, But I'm not saying it's not... That schedule wasn't really 5 nights a month. There's a lot more to it. And you've got to really be talented to be as over as they were, Ross and Kingfish. You know what I mean? So they warranted every dime. But, that was a fun fact. Vince really wanted Jerry Lawler to book. For World Wrestling Entertainment.
That would have been really interesting.
Yeah, he's
especially
guy.
Back when he and JR were on top, which would have been during the Attitude Era, and everything was so TV 14, TVMA kind of stuff.
They were damn good. It's too bad that I would say they were probably to me second to Gorilla and Bobby, which was outstanding. I wish your era could have seen that when they were in their prime.
In its heyday, yeah. Well, thank God for the network, because now we get to appreciate that for what it is.
Yeah.
Even I actually watched an interview with Lawler one time, where he said people come up to me all the time and they say you and JR were the greatest commentary team of all time, and then they pause and they go, well, except for Bobby and Gorilla.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And I'll bet Lawler owned that. He knew that was an unbeatable pair.
Oh yeah.
So I would say number 1 commentators would be Bobby and Gorilla, priceless.
Oh, definitely.
2. Kingfish and JR in their prime. 3, Jesse the Body Ventura and Gorilla Monson was great too.
Yeah, you and I were in sync with that one.
Yeah, they were.
I used to love Jesse and Gorilla.
Yeah.
Jesse always making the empty threats about coming out of retirement always cracked me up. Well, I wasn't old enough to remember when it actually aired, but watching it back, it always cracks me up.
Yeah, Jesse was damn good, man. He was a fucking draw, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and even Jesse admits he took his gimmick from Billy Graham and just tried to turn it up as much as he could.
They all did. Hogan as well.
Hogan. That's a really good documentary I actually watched a few weeks ago. Was that one on Superstar that's on the network? It's I think maybe about 15 years old, but really enlightening to a guy I think is sadly, for as many accolades as he has and how well he's remembered, I still feel like he's so horribly underrated.
Yeah, he's horribly underrated, and a lot of that is because of the back and forth, like Bruno, with Vince Jr. and the way Vince... I don't think Vince is a bad guy, but I think at some points he would turn his head or turn a blind eye to certain things because he was dependent on certain people. Mm-hmm. But hence, today, why they got a short fucking leash, and it's sad. Because once these guys leave Vince, they don't mean a fucking thing 3 months after.
Yeah.
They give him a 3-month severance and say you can't appear on television for any other company, i.e. Ryback. Do you remember how big he was?
Yeah.
How Feed Me More, how many versions of that motherfucking shirt there was?
Yep.
And these guys were younger than, like, let's say Matt Vine, for example. You know, I'd say the guy, he wants, Brybeck's taking indie shots. Fuck, he better get him quick, because in 3 months he ain't going to mean nothing.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. He didn't mean, I'm not saying it to be an asshole. It's not my bad. It's Vince's bad, you know. He took the name Ryback. So now he's got to use some other name, which your casual fan just isn't going to see in a poster or a commercial and get it. He's not going to see that guy unless you got WWE footage and get it. You know what I mean? So it doesn't work. And you know,
Ryan Reeves doesn't draw.
So tell me this: did they talk about the Billy Graham meltdown
I believe they did.
when he tried to come back?
Yeah, they did. When he tried to have that second run.
And did they talk about his partner, how he just wasn't the same?
Yeah, they did.
Did they say why? Did Billy Graham ever go on record and say why?
I think they touched on it. This was 3-4 weeks ago when I watched this thing, but I'm pretty sure they did because he came out accountable for a lot of stuff that he did back in the day.
So it's on the network.
It's on the network.
When
yeah.
I say a lot of stuff, I'm not talking about steroids. I will never bury that era, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Billy Superstar Graham, for steroids, because we didn't know shit. They didn't know shit about steroids. In the 80s, we didn't know shit about steroids.
And back then, when it was a big man's business, it was almost a necessary evil.
Oh, of course it was, and it gave people a lot of different fucking disorders, i.e., you know, now, you know, it's weird, they stopped doing this, but you know how they focused for a long time on eating disorders?
Yeah.
You know, you got your fucking really fat people that can't get out of bed, and then you got those poor bastards that literally kill themselves scarfing and barfing or not eating at all, you know? It's the same thing. Everybody got a fucking big head, and, you know, the steroids led to a lot of weak hearts and a lot of deaths.
Yeah.
And a lot of health problems. I think Billy's got at least 2 fake hips. You know what I mean? His joints are shot.
He doesn't have his original liver.
The amazing thing is, man, I mean, we rarely got to see Billy Graham in his heyday. When I started watching wrestling early to mid-70s, superstar Billy Graham had a fucking body and a look. It didn't seem like Vern nor Bruiser, who we saw here, the territories we got on TV, were able to, they didn't know how the fuck to book him. You know, and Vern and Bruiser were both kind of fucking marks for themselves, so nobody was ever going to get bigger than they were. You know what I mean? I will say, you know, but anyway, that's irrelevant. Billy Graham, it was supposed to be, Dusty and Billy Graham were heels. And Dusty and Billy Graham against Bockwinkel and Stevens, or it might have even been the Valiant Brothers, but I think it was Bockwinkel and Stevens, managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan, the Weasel. It was that amphitheater, and Billy Graham no-showed because he got hired by Vince Sr. You know, I think that they knew that. They just wanted to see if they could get Dusty over with the surprise guest guy that's stepping up, the Crusher. You know, Crusher and Bruiser were Chicago fucking area and Midwest area wrestling. They were the shit. You know what I mean? So Crusher says, all right, I'm in the building. I'm not booked. I'm coming from the saloon. I'm going to step up and be Dusty Rhodes' partner tonight, because even though me and Dusty have issues, I'm not going to watch you 3 on 1. All right, folks? And everybody lights up. He's got the cigar in his mouth. Then Bockwinkel and Stevens and Heenan jump him and rip his street clothes off. You know, and if memory serves, the cigar stayed in Crusher's mouth.
It probably would have.
You know, so then what happens is they flip-flop it around, and it's Dusty and fucking, Dusty and Crusher fucking finally flip it around and get their comeback on Ray and Nick and Bobby. And it looked so good. Crusher looked like he was jumping up and landing on Nick's head with his fucking dress shoes on, the heels, you know. And Nick sits up, fucking crimson mask, and literally crying, looking right at the camera. So they didn't have the match, but goddamn, they had a great angle that drew like a motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, superstar Billy Graham, the only way we saw how big he was through the magazines. It was a wrestler and then PWI Pro Wrestling, whatever the fuck. I can't remember which
Pro
one.
Wrestling Illustrated.
Yeah, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It was amazing, you know. He was even bigger, tanner, and I remember one article that was actually in part taken from one of the newspapers where superstar Billy Graham starts a riot in, what's that place in New York? Something Square. Times Square. Fucking the pictures were all taken from the newspapers, not a wrestling magazine. Mm-hmm. And he was standing on top of the car posing in the fucking tie-dye, and there was a fucking legit non-wrestling crowd fucking gathered around to stop traffic and shit. He got in trouble for it. I mean, he was so over, and nobody was that over back then like superstar Billy Graham. And they talk about it. The old timers talked about the money he drew as the top fucking heel. And let's face it, I mean, that guy was an innovator.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But then they said he left, and he came back, and he wasn't the same. So probably it seemed like he kind of fell prey to depression. You know, but I don't know. I'm going to look and I'm going to ask you later about if you guys are superstar Billy Graham fans. What was the name of the thing? Is it on the network?
I can't remember what it is, but if you go to,
it's on the network.
Yeah, if you go to documentaries and scroll down, it's all chronological. So if you scroll down to like 2006, I think it came out, you'll find it.
I always wanted to know though, and I never got the chance to ask him what happened, what the meltdown was about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like heavy steroid use can fuck up your chromosomes and your psyche, where you go into a really deep depression. And although he was always a great fucking worker, he couldn't muster or recapture that old stardom. You know what I mean? Which was, like you said, it was a fucking amazing. I mean, it's legendary because how many guys that were big names in wrestling stole Billy Graham shit to get over, you know?
Yeah, and that documentary is called 20 Years Too Soon.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it's hard to miss. I mean, there's a big picture of him flexing in the tie-dye. The whole background's tie-dye. It pops out of the screen. So.
Well, there was just nothing like that guy, man. There was nothing like it, you know? I would say your top three most charismatic guys in the industry were, you know, of course you got Gorgeous George, the innovator. Mm-hmm. Then you go to superstar Billy Graham, and I would say handsome Jimmy Valiant. You know, because these motherfuckers, they didn't even have to try with what comes out of their mouth. It seemed like it just flowed. You know what I mean? Dusty. Of course, Dusty. Oh, yeah. You know, like top four. You know, but they just don't make them like that. And the thing that's funny today is nobody tries to be like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Those are the guys you want to talk about charisma. Those are the guys that you want to emulate.
Yeah.
Even a guy who wasn't as loud was more subtle. And a guy we were just talking about though, Bockwinkel, fantastic promo.
He always carried himself like he was better than you.
That's what got him the heat. I love watching his old promos, and he he'd always use these big words, enunciate his speech, say things like "far beyond my superior talent is my intellect," and
what a great wrestler, man. I mean, he was a good wrestler.
Fantastic.
Too. I make the guys watch that shit. Here's Premier Pro Wrestling. Fucking Nick Bockwinkel. Wilbur fucking Snyder's the era before Nick Bockwinkel. All the way to Almas and motherfucking Angel Garza. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what these guys do here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually watched a
That's a fucking hell of a pendulum.
Yeah, it's there's a really good match. I think it's on the network, or maybe I found it on YouTube. But it's one of the matches between Bockwinkel and Hennig. Oh my God, was that fantastic!
Oh, it was amazing. They did it once when Kurt was the baby face, and then they did it another time when Nick was the baby face. I think
the one I saw was one of the rare ones where Bockwinkel was actually the face. Well, because if I remember, it was one of the ones where Zbyszko got involved to
with the roll of nickels.
Zbyszko. I think it was the roll of nickels, that match.
Yeah. Now, what's funny about that is, and you got to remember this, Kurt was fucking. I mean, let's face it. Kurt Hennig is probably in almost everybody's top 10.
Oh God, yeah.
Greatest of all time workers, and I was lucky enough to get to work with that motherfucker. But
you worked Hennig, really? Yeah. I don't think I ever heard that.
Yeah, it's somewhere, probably in the network. I don't know. But anyway, so Kurt was small, dude. He was like $175 when he started, you know? And they fucking put him with Steve Regal, Mr. Electricity, because Steve was a 200 and change, which was small at the time, but he was such a good worker and so flamboyant and charismatic that they put a light heavyweight title on him for Vern, you know? So he got to be carried by Steve, which is, I was carried by Steve, dude. My fifth match was carried by Steve. Unbelievable. I didn't have a fucking clue, and Steve carries me 20 to 30 minutes. You know what I mean? And it got over. Then after that, he got handed off to territories. He went to different territories, Steve, because they didn't want to beat him while he paid his dues for Vern or Bruiser, which worked together, but mostly Vern at the time. Hennig, yeah. Then Hennig came back and he worked with other guys like Larry, and when he was ready, he worked with Nick, okay? Then they were trying anything they could to get over. Kurt really came into his own. The people were buying him. He'd earned the spot. Now he can't do anything more than as a baby face. They put him back with an aging Nick Bockwinkel because they knew they would get Kurt over as a heel. And if it weren't for Nick, Kurt never would have been able to fucking step up because he went straight from being the heel with Nick, getting over to being the heel for fucking Vince. Mm-hmm. And look what that drew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Tremendous. Yeah, as good as his stuff was working for Vince, everybody talks about the SummerSlam match, 91, I think he had with Brett. Has been one of the greatest matches of all time. But seriously, go into the vault. Watch a lot of the old AWA stuff that he did with Bockwinkel and other guys. Oh, my God.
Or how Kurt would pop up in fucking Georgia. Kurt would pop up in Houston. He looked like a fucking dork, a scrawny dork. You know what I mean? But guys would work with him because he was the Axe's son. Everybody respected and loved Larry the Axe Hennig, fans and wrestlers, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So what are we doing on Saturday?
So Saturday, we've got an all-Japan Battle Royal.
That's fucking cool.
Yep, that's the Battle Royal concept. That's not an original concept. It's a more adopted, but it's pinfalls, no over-the-top rope eliminations. You go down, you're screwed because everybody's going to pile on top of you.
12 guys pile on you. Last time, 12 guys piled on Eddie the Bruiser Cruz.
Poor Eddie.
1, 2, 3.
All he wanted was a chance.
Yeah, so, I mean, man, that's an amazing concept, and it's exciting.
Yeah,
I love to watch the guys. They're like fucking a pack of wolves that smell fear, and then the fans react to it. All of a sudden, it just happens so quick. One fucking move and everybody's piling on. Yep. You know what I mean? And you got a pile 8 feet high of fucking humans on there. Let's figure out. Let's say everybody. Let's lowball the figure. 12 guys times 200 pounds, because you know it's the average weight is more than that.
So that would be 2,400 pounds.
You have literally a ton of man flesh on you. How are you kicking out of that one? You know?
Yeah, no, you're not. It's amazing you survived that.
Yeah, for 3 seconds even, you know?
But the winner of that is going to go on to face Jose for the title.
Let's say 4 seconds, because everybody's got to peel off after.
Oh, yeah. You remember that one? You remember that one time? This cracks me up to this day.
Dude, there were so many motherfuckers on top of Eddie, you couldn't see Eddie no more. Go ahead, sorry.
But do you remember that time? It still cracks me up. Everybody piled on. I can't remember who it was. And then here comes Pancho, puts his foot on the top of the pile, and does his surf pose.
It's hard.
Funny as hell.
He was in all his glory.
Funny as hell. But the winner of that's going to face Jose for the title, and then we're going to have another number 1 contenders match for the next week. Tim Castle and Inestra. The winner of that's going to go on to face the champ the following Saturday.
Yeah, that thing was heating up, and then it had a week off because Inestra got some sort of goofy allergic reaction to a wound, so he took that night off.
Yeah.
So, you know, we'll see that. That's a good fucking pairing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Inestra is, notorious for his agility, but then you got Tim Castle, who's a very, 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 I think I've said this before, he is, pound for pound, arguably the best mat wrestler in Premier Pro Wrestling.
He's getting there, you know? Now,
Arguably.
when you do too much, he's green yet. And, I give him proper some credit, you know? But in other ways, he's not sure how to out-wrestle and apply the wrestling to certain aerial assaults and also power guys like Gosling and Vine.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but he's
point
gonna
taken.
he's gonna learn it. He's coming along. The basics are there. I mean, the fucking the building blocks. What do you call the building blocks again? Not the basics.
The
your,
building blocks. The foundation. The cornerstone.
Fundamentals or foundation.
Fundamentals.
Fundamentals. That motherfucker's fundamentally sound. Mm-hmm. You know, he certainly looks the part.
And then Anestra too, strong in his own right. I mean, we
Very.
always talk about his powerlifting background.
No, I mean, you could go to his social media shit and you'll see it. The
Yeah.
guy's fucking strong. He can fly, and he's compacted on that 180-pound, frame, man. He's strong as fuck. You know what I mean? I would say he's 50 pounds lighter than Vine. That would make him 70 pounds lighter than Gosling, and I'll bet he can keep up on your 3 basic lifts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we've seen him lift Gosling before, almost like he was nothing. And then we've got, speaking of Matt Vine, we've got match number 5 in the best of 7 series, Vine and DeMarcio, Destroyer.
Yes. I'm excited about that.
Scores tied at 2, so this is going to be the tiebreaker. And the guy who walks away with this one is going to be 1 win away from taking the series.
It'll be something, man. It'll be something to see because it's heating up like crazy. And DeMarcio's fended for himself very fucking well in that best of 7. Surprising to myself, and I think surprising to Vine, too.
Yep.
It's going to be who can keep their fucking head about him.
Yeah. You know what we didn't do? We didn't recap this last Saturday.
Go ahead, dog.
So we had, first, the opener was Zero Gold and Xander Lars. That guy's coming along like crazy.
Xander reminds me, now again, Iron Mike Sharp was no fucking joke. There was an era there of fans that wanted to make him a fucking joke. You should have seen that motherfucker in his heyday at 270 pounds in Canada, and then coming down and working for Vince Sr. and the goddamn territories, man. That guy is amazing. Xander reminds me of that guy, and I don't even think he knew who the fuck Iron Mike Sharp was till I mentioned it.
Yep.
You know?
And then we had the another new concept, the single elimination 10-man tag team match.
I'm so grateful that didn't turn into 10 monkeys fucking a football. That was
God.
great.
I wasn't sure. I know we were all nervous, wondering how it was going to go, but it wasn't like your traditional tag team match. Partners didn't tag in and out.
It wasn't a tag match. That's the funny thing.
When you were in the match, you were in the match until the end of the fall. The tags happen when the guy who eliminates you gets to tag in or choose his next opponent from your team.
We're going to do something with that. Now, do you know who hit me up with a good word? I mean, more than one word, but the one that jumped out the most.
Tell me.
Ian.
Oh, yeah.
Ian Solik. Yeah. He said, maybe you could name it a relay tag match.
Huh.
Relay because the handoff, which makes total sense. He also mentioned the term marathon tournament. You know? So, because that was so great and the fans really got into it, we're going to do more with that.
Good.
You know? And I like that word relay in there.
Oh, yeah.
And marathon. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We just got to figure out how the fuck do I want to get to that point. There's so much that I got to do. People think that's easy, and I get flack from people and their stupid shit. I mean, like these indies that run once a month, once every 6 weeks, that haven't run for 6 months, fucking with us. How long have we been doing this fucking every week shit? And I gotta book that. I gotta be creative. I gotta write that shit.
We're over 4 years now on every week.
Really, that's a long time, to keep it compelling and to train the guys.
Yep.
And direct them and agent them.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I'm curious now. I'm going to do the math on that.
And keep them pumped.
I am going to do the math on that. So 4 years, 12 months in a year.
208.
So 52 times 4, 208 weeks of wrestling.
See, how did I do that? How do you figure? My brain doesn't have, but my street math is great. Yeah. You know what I mean? My street math is fucking outstanding, huh? Yeah, that's good. I didn't know I still possessed that.
So you figure the guys who are mainstays here in the company, your Matt Vines, your Chase Goslings, they've had in maybe not at that amount, but in the ballpark of 200 matches in the last 4 years.
Vine has.
Oh yeah. And that's not
Vines
even
had over that.
That's not even counting our Friday tapings.
All right, so let's drop that shit. Let's say that Vines had 240 matches in 4 years. Okay? So you got a guy, one guy always comes to mind, you know who it is, and I'm not going to fucking name him, calls himself a veteran. Took at least 1 year off, maybe more. He's been around 10 years. And let's give him credit and say he's wrestled once a month for 10 years. So that's 12 times 10. That's 120 matches. That's half of what Matt Vine has had in 4 years. And that's giving him more matches than he actually worked. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
And who have you worked with? And who's agented you? Who's trained you? Where have they been? What have they done? Who have they worked with? That's how it goes. We just spoke about that. How important was Nick fucking Bockwinkel handing the fucking torch to Kurt Hennig? 2 times. One, to test this kid to see if he made it, if he could be a top guy as a babyface. Then he works with Nick, establishes himself as said babyface. Then he runs for a year or 2 as a babyface. Then revisit, we got to put him with Nick to fucking turn him heel, to show him how to do that. Motherfucker turns heel and goes straight from that to working for Vince McMahon and drawing huge money. Mm-hmm. That's how it works. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can't watch your favorite matches from Japan and your favorite El Luchador shit and go in there and do what they do. You know?
Yep.
Prime example, Almas. Prime example, Angel Garza. The things that you watch them do, those guys killed themselves. They innovated high flying beyond anything I've seen an American or a Brit do. Even Osprey, who I like. But I'm talking about the way they moved and the things that they did under the masks, okay? But look at their fucking grappling. Look at their storytelling. Look at their persona. That's something that they learned from their fucking uncles and their fucking relatives and their fucking cousins working the house shows every night in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And look what you get. Let's say they have got to be the 2 top 10 guys for a year or longer that get the most TV time.
Yep.
When you figure out how expensive each minute of Vince's TV time is, we're low ball figure $500,000 an hour. There's no way around it. Facts are facts. You know what I mean? Facts are facts. So take the zeros away, take the TV away, you know, lift some of the shit, and then you got the difference between us and them.
Yep. And then, so from that relay match, we had Matt Vine and Inestra. They were the last men standing. Inestra.
That was titties.
Inestra didn't even get in the ring. He just happened to luck out.
How smart was that?
Yep.
Prick.
Stayed on the outside, let everybody else get tagged in. And then, so they went on to face Chad for the cup. Chad eliminates both of them over the top rope and retains against all odds. And then
Chad, fuck, man. That's a well-rounded guy, man.
Oh, hell yeah. Deserves to be a champion. Definitely does.
Oh, unbelievable, right?
And then we had Jose.
What a worker. What a hard worker.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to a camp where he hasn't been here. Excuse me.
No, man. The guy works his ass off.
And I can't even remember the last time he missed a taping.
He fucking, I'm just selling for Savio and Luke. And when he's going to be late, he fucking hits you up. Yep. You know what I mean? He worked with 2 loose teeth, his face bashed over that fucking mountain bike accident and didn't miss a step, you know?
Yep. And then we had, in the main, it was Pancho and Jose for the world title.
That was a great match.
Yeah, it was.
That was a great match.
The Killer or the Clown.
I love that.
We saw more Killer, I think, on Saturday.
He doesn't even know who the fuck Max Bear is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's a living, breathing Max Bear 70 years later in the ring every Saturday, you know?
Yeah, brilliant match between those two.
Yeah, Jose, what a worker, what a hard worker.
I think Pancho was on offense for the majority of that match. Jose was playing defense.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he outsmarted Pancho, which seems to be getting harder and harder to do. Much it pains me to say it, Pancho is dumb like a fox.
Yeah. Well, it's come a long way. I mean, he just tasted his his first gold. He's the new Armageddon champion, and he pinned Jose in the Armageddon Gauntlet to win it, and that's why he got the title shot.
Yep, he earned it.
Yeah.
All right, how long have we been going?
Oh, we are closing in on 50 minutes.
We should probably take it home, huh?
Yeah, why not?
So we're at the studio. The guys are coming tonight, and I got a new piece of metal to reinforce our ring. I don't have the fucking money to do it. I really, really don't. But we have to do it. You know? And that's another difference between us and them is you just rent the ring from some idiot, some unsafe piece of crap, hasn't been tested, hasn't been tweaked, probably kept outside. This ring, you know, if it comes down to putting $200 in this ring or $200 into something I need, I got to go with the fucking ring because of the long term here, you know?
Yeah.
The guy's safety.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it was fun dragging this thing here. You guys should have seen it. This big, what is that, 18 feet?
18 foot, 1 3/4 inches.
Yeah, 18 foot, 1 3/4 inch beam on top of Rand's beat up minivan.
Shut up. It's a nice van.
Bouncing up. Hey, you're the one who calls it the Tard van.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if you can say
Bouncing up
that.
and down between these two plastic holders going down Route 47 in Woodstock.
You know what
Sight.
song? You know what song I heard playing in my head?
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Woohoo! Woohoo! Woohoo! Woohoo! But I like that, you know.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Good.
It was funny.
Yeah.
It brightened up my day.
Yeah. And they
So-
put it outside for us.
Yeah, now that I love. See, here's another thing. There was a guy, he was running in Will County, fucking jagoff you are. He was running Will County in, I don't know, I want to say Joliet or Lockport, one of the bigger venues, you know. And this motherfucker was out, he ran for a couple years, I think. And he was the innovator of spending 20 grand to make 5 grand. You know, he'd fill the place, but he never thought about the fact that, hey man, even if I fill the place, it's only going to take 5 grand. Why am I spending 20 grand on talent and travel? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And advertising. So the reason he's out of business is he got run out of business because he stopped paying his advertising bills. You know what I mean? Like, he even had a billboard off of one of the highways up there on 55 or 355, you know what I mean? And he couldn't go on forever. But here's me, you know. Last time I bought this piece because of the price of metal was $140. That's not bad, you know. But I'll tell you, when you're living like I'm living and taking these fucking weekly risks, I don't know how I ended up into that. The metal shot up from 140 to 208.
Jesus.
No, 209.51, right? Yeah, that was the exact on it. And I'm like, holy shit. I didn't know that when I ordered it. I thought it was $140 again. You know what I mean? So it couldn't have came at the worst time. I would have rethought that. I waited a couple months. But the fucking guy cut the metal that day and tweaked it because they had to customize it for me, cut it from a 20-foot piece. And then he laid it outside for me and kept it out there, knowing full well my word was good. I love that. You know what I mean? And what was the guy's reaction to me when I walked in there?
He knew who you were.
What did he say? What the fuck did he do? He sells me the shit and then says what?
Oh, I can't remember.
So what do you think about this fucking country if Donald Trump loses?
Oh, yeah.
That's how people react to me. You know what I mean? There's no manipulation. There's no, I would gladly pay you Tuesday for an 18-foot, 1 inch and 3/4 piece of metal today. You know what I mean?
All right, Wimpy.
You handle your business. And
Yeah.
these indie tards don't have a shred of integrity, decency, don't know the fucking meaning of those words.
Yeah. You
know
have
what
to
I mean?
treat it like a business. Your fans aren't marks. Your fans are your customers.
Exactly. You're the marks.
Yeah. Marks for yourselves, usually.
Yeah. But hey, man, we're going to keep pushing this shit, and it's going to take off. And guys, help us pimp the Patreon, will you? The Patreon's working, but it's got to take off. We got to get this to take off. If you have any suggestions about how to get Patreon to take off, you know, because I've got nothing but good feedback from people about even this podcast. Like, people told me even this podcast alone, we're not charging enough, which I love, you know. But we got to get it rolling, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I think is going to boost it, Justin? In closing, why don't you go ahead and what we're going to do is we're going to end up fucking showing you guys offering this shit live Saturday on Patreon. and that's going to cost, that tier would probably be $10, but you get everything, including that live shit.
Yeah.
We got some money stored up, which I could use right now, but we're not going to use it. We're going to use it to keep this Patreon and launch with the live shit, where you can watch our shit on pay-per-view from your house with a 40-second delay at the most.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that'll be good, too, to pimp for folks that are concerned about COVID still,
Yeah. Yeah, no,
And our fans internationally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think doing a live stream is going to be our next big inevitable step.
Yeah.
We know how to do it. We just got to make it happen.
Well, let me collect my thoughts and bullshit and fucking street math and get with you and a couple other folks. And let's see if we could kick that motherfucker off with a Night of the Champions. Like we said in the opening of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
And then work toward it, then we'd have time to pimp, too.
Yeah.
Let's see. But again, if you guys got any suggestions in regards to getting this Patreon to really take off, let us know.
Definitely. And thank you guys, as always, for your support.
Thank Ian for those keywords, relay and marathon.
Yes.
I got to put my fucking... I just got to focus. And when I focus, we can put all that shit together,
Yep.
But that's the thing. I was looking for that word, Ian. Where the fuck were you a week earlier when I came up with it? I was like, what's another word for? What's another word for? I'm driving this motherfucker nuts and my kid nuts with another word for, and Ian pulls relay out of his ass.
Yeah.
All
right, guys. So we're going to sign off for this week. Stay tuned. Remember, double shot this weekend.
Have
Friday,
mosh pitting.
Friday and Saturday.
Don't be afraid to share our shit either. That helps,